Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the best show of the best shows, where we talk about everything from comic books to even social commentary. This is episode number
14
of For Canon's Sake. So whether you're a normie, a wannabe expert, or a tryhard, get in there. And now, for your host, Mr. Eric July.
Hey, welcome to yet another episode of For Canon's Sake. We have a good one today. Going to be discussing some of the COppa stuff as well as just some of my personal politics, which has been a topic of discussion with my social media, let's say that. But I do appreciate everybody for, of course, tuning in to For Canon's Sake. Make sure you go listen to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, be it on Spotify. You can go to my website, ericdjuly.com. You can listen to it there. Really doesn't matter, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or what have you. You can listen to the podcast For Canon's Sake, so be sure to keep it locked. And I do appreciate everybody that has been a supporter of the podcast. And I've been putting out a lot more episodes, a lot more frequently. And that to me is very important because that's something that I needed to commit to, because I do feel like these long form discussions and such are better for my brand and just better for people to get just a better understanding of where it is that I come from certain topics, because there's only so much that I can say in a video that is intended for just one specific topic. If that makes any sense. That may not make any sense to anybody, but whatever. So the whole COppa craze is the recent topic of discussion. Not because it's new. COppa is not a new law. And for those that don't know, what that is this sort of child protection law that's been in effect for a very long time. But there were some recent amendments on it to make it more digitized and make it more modern, that YouTube wasn't necessarily complying, or there were so many activist groups. And obviously you have the federal government, FTC, basically saying, yes, you have not been complying with these said laws. And yeah, let's discuss it. So there was a settlement. And when I talk about settlements, I want people to understand that there's more than likely so much that's a part of that settlement that will never get out to the public. All you know is really what YouTube is doing in terms of making their adjustments that affects the creators. And that's really it. And they can have their law, not necessarily laws, but rules for their specific brand, and that is YouTube, in which they may make whatever changes that they will claim that's based on what happened out of that settlement. But as far as what actually pops off within the settlement and what happened with that, you will never know. I will never know what all it entails. But we can discuss, we can speculate, and of course, we can talk about what adjustments they are making. And that's what's the topic of discussion right now, is that people take issue with what's going on because it is going to hurt their bottom line as content creators. Totally understandable. And because YouTube has now said, hey, you put out your videos, you need to let us know if it's for children. I believe 13 years of age or younger than 13 years of age is considered for kids. And if you have, let's say that's your topic, or your branding is appealing to kids, you need to market as such. And if it's not, you don't need to market, or you need to market to the opposite, right? Now, YouTube has claimed that they are more so going to base it off of what you describe your video as, but they're going to have their bots in place to really ensure that people aren't abusing the system, ensuring that people aren't lying. Now, YouTube themselves are going to make their adjustments from not just that, but from an advertiser standpoint, things that appeal to kids, they are going to make their adjustments now that it's hurt their bottom line. I believe the settlement reach was $170 billion, which a lot of people are going to say that's just a slap. That ain't nothing to what Google makes in terms of how much they bring in. $170 million is $170 million. So take that in whatever way that you made. The objective is not to lose that much money. So to ensure that that doesn't happen again, they are going to make their adjustments, and that's what's happening right now, is that they now have this deal in place. Now, the things that people are talking about that makes it a little more scary is that now they're saying that they'll allow the federal government to sweep their videos and their content. And people are talking about how you can be fined on the upward of $42,000 if you are caught violating this law. And that is saying that, at least from the creative standpoint, you're saying that your content isn't for kids, but it maybe attracts kids and it appeals to kids, or vice versa. You've now broken the law and they can fine you up to $42,000. And that's per video. That's what everybody's freaking out. So you've probably seen your favorite creators make so many different videos. Oh, COppa, my channel. This may be my last video. I'm jumping the ship. I'm out. Going to make content somewhere else, but they may take my channel down. They may demonetize it. I may get fined. I may get, hit by the federal government. And that's totally understandable. I get it. YouTube makes their adjustments. You got to make yours. And it's tough. Now, I'm of the opinion that content like mine, even though I may talk about comic books and stuff of that nature, content like mine, I believe is going to be fine. I honestly do. People have tried to make me as pessimistic as possible about this, but I believe I'm going to be fine from YouTube's adjustment standpoint and even from the governmental standpoint. For one, the topics, even though I talk about comic books, the way I talk about them generally aren't going to appeal to adults. I'm pretty clear in the language I'm using, not even necessarily in cursing. Now, that's the difficult thing when you talk about subjectivity and laws. Who is to say that your stuff is or is not for kids? But I think just the way that I present it and my channel in general, I'm going to be fine. A lot of people don't want me to be fine. They want me to freak out. That's the easiest thing to do. Capture that drama. But I'm not going to dramatize this. I really do genuinely think that I will be fine. This channel will be fine. It will continue as it's going. I'm not even going to make an adjustment. But I think for those that blur the lines, and by blur the lines, I mean, let's say video game content. That appeals to a lot of kids. Even the more neutral comic book stuff. Those are things that may appeal to kids. And I think it's more about the viewership in terms of who you're bringing to the videos. I think it's more about that as opposed to if the content is, I guess a kid can consume it, right? I may make videos that kids can't consume, but the vast majority of my base, I've checked my analytics, they're grown adults. And that's going to, for the most part, always be the case because I don't make the content that really appeals to kids, considering that I'm talking about stuff that's going to be way above their heads. And certainly when it comes to political standpoint, I think a lot of these the parents would have preferred it that way because I'm going to say what's the complete opposite of what they're teaching them in the public school system when it comes to politics. So I have that going for me. I think that's why I'm fine. I think the people who realized in the past that appealing to a wide range of different people and capturing those kids in terms of viewership, like those very prominent, like the ninjas of the world, for example. I think a guy like Ninja, and by Ninja, I'm talking about the streamer for those that don't know. I think he appeals to a lot of kids in terms of, now he used to not always be like that, but now he's like top streamer. Now he's over at Mixer, not Twitch anymore. But a lot of kids know this guy and they like the guy, right? I think people like him, and he specifically said and going out of his way in terms of his rebrand to, I know that kids watch me, so I want to be this role model and such. I think guys like him, when it comes to putting content on YouTube, may be the ones that face those sorts of issues, right? Monetization issues and such. Now, guys like myself, and even other gamers, like you take another gamer like Dr. Disrespect, for example, I think kids know who Dr. Disrespect is, but Dr. Disrespect isn't a kids streamer, if that makes sense. So I think guys like him will be fine. The ninjas of the world, I don't think they're going to be fine. I think they have to make adjustments, really counting on YouTube to not monetize them anymore, if that's the case, because they're going to be blurring the lines. And I don't know if that's a route that they want to go, getting in trouble with the government and those sorts of possibilities. And to those creators, I feel for them. And that's why they're freaking out. Those creators, for the most part, know who they are. They're those that's just like, oh my God, I'm going to clutch my pearls and this channel is going to be, this is the last video I'm going to, those people, there's going to be those that have nothing to worry, or let's say worry the least, that are going to worry the most, to act like their channel is in so much jeopardy, even though they don't even make stuff that appeals to kids. I think those guys that are in those gray areas that may not even be in, they're just trying to make maybe informational videos. I think the guys that make straight up kids content, and those people know who those people are, the guys that talk about toys and and stuff that clearly is specifically for kids. I'm not even talking about figurines or what have you. I'm talking about, toys, and they know they're appealing to kids. They even had their kids in their videos. Those guys are screwed. Straight up. Let's call it what it is. They're screwed. Less about the law, more about YouTube making the adjustments. I don't know if you guys have heard, going into 2020, there's a lot of adjustments that YouTube is going to be making in those regards, from an advertiser standpoint, from a channel standpoint, in terms of what you're able to do if you make that those kids related content. Those guys are screwed. The guys the guys screwed the most. I think they're objectively, that's going to be the case. The guys that are on the gray area side, that's kind of in the middle, that's the trickiest part. Do you continue to make content? Do you not continue to make content? And I feel for those guys as well. I really do. But, and there's always a but, there is a larger perspective that I want people to maybe take into consideration when it comes to this. The reason why a lot of these YouTubers are freaking out is because they've put their entire livelihoods and got comfortable with YouTube. YouTube is a massive employer for a lot of these people. And by employer, I don't mean, let me take that back. Not necessarily saying that Google employs them. Like, Google's not telling them to create anything. It's more so Google has had this, or more so YouTube, because, that sort of predates Google in the sense that it wasn't always Google. But YouTube, genius scheme in that all they have to do is have creators on the platform, keep the creators happy, and they sit back, manage the platform, and they make money. They rake in a killing off of the creators, because they are the ones generating the revenue, because people are placing ads on those videos. Easy for them. So I don't want to really just say that they employ them, but it has given us a lot of people, including myself, a means to be able to make some good money off of. Some people have gotten rich off of YouTube. And by rich, I'm talking millionaires. And if you make stuff that's on the blurry side of things, or if you're just completely screwed and you've been making a lot of money on YouTube, I think that as much as it might suck, I always think that it's a mistake to place your entire livelihood on that one platform. I think it was a mistake. You should not have done that. You can go date back all of my videos in which I've talked about this. That's basic business stuff, man. Why? Definitely, as you see yourself continue, it's not like, you got a 9-to-5 job. It's a little different. One job, you don't got time. But if you are, you basically make your own hours and you're creating content and you've gained a big following, you should have been trying to create other ways to monetize them a long time ago. Multiple revenue streams, multiple ways that you have a connection with your support base so you can monetize them. But putting your entire livelihood in something like Google, as volatile as that can sort of be, now it's not volatile in comparison to a lot of things in terms of the market. It's pretty steady. People have been making money on YouTube for years, almost a decade. I've been on YouTube for over a decade, actually. So I get that, and I totally understand it. But what's happened is a lot of people got comfortable. The money got nice. They got a big channel. They put everything in on YouTube. No website, little to no website, little to no traction on that website if they have one. No ways to monetize them from a donation standpoint. They're just making money strictly off the YouTube check that they get every single month. That was a mistake, and people should have saw it as a mistake when people were getting taken off of social media over the last couple of years. This is why I always say, be careful who you encourage for a private business to take off of said platform when it comes to things like social media. Because what that does show you is that, like that, it can change. It can change. And it has changed for a lot of people. Now, back then when it was, let's say, some of those conservative voices that were getting taken off, you had the guys like Carlos Maza of Vox, formerly of Vox. I don't know if he's with Vox no more. Basically shamed YouTube into changing some of their policies and caught a lot of content creators in the crossfire. With his beef with Steven Crowd, he caught so many other people in the crossfire. That shit, and even before then, there were people that were getting taken off the platform. Now, you can agree or disagree with whether they should have remained on the platform, but in itself, you should have saw that as a wake-up call. Like, dude, things can change really fast for me. That should have been your wake-up call. It can change like that, dude. And just like that, what you have been depending on for months at a time has been, I mean, every month, that's your only check, main check, is gone, bro. And it was funny, Kiki laughing. Idiot. They should have just followed the rules. But because that person was maybe on the opposite end of you from a political standpoint, it was all fun and games. Now, because things happen, changes happen. Markets change. When you get government involved, things suck. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But things change. It's not promised. But we already saw that this sort of stuff can happen. And then it happens to you. And now you're left with your pants down. Like, whoa. Or caught with your pants down. Like, whoa, I wasn't prepared for this. What happened? Just from an advice standpoint, man, make some adjustments if you are a creator or if you're a potential creator. You have aspirations. Be thinking of ideas as you grow. Be thinking of ideas in which you can switch things up. Multiple revenue streams, multiple different ways to monetize your content. And that's a lot easier for a lot of other people than it is for others. Like, guys that have it easy are the people that say use YouTube strictly to promote their own stuff. Or even promote other people's stuff. Like people that buy, like, maybe test products, and then they have, your links in the description box. Click on this link. You go buy the product from that link and they get a cut of it. Those people, it's easier for them to monetize stuff than what it is for other types of content creators. I get it. But to just depend on YouTube for your own one form of money, you just got complacent, bro. And that was a bad idea. I'm not saying that as a screw you to the other content creators who may be trying to figure out how they are going to make the adjustments to match or at least get some of the income that they may lose due to YouTube's changes. That sucks for anybody. I don't wish that on people. Again, I've been consistent with this. I knew that y'all, more so I knew that this was sort of the approach that was going to happen. Why do you think I, even as myself, like I'm like always saying like nothing is prompt. They could take my page down tomorrow. I already know that I say something that may rub somebody the wrong way. All it takes is one person to manually review, got offended, that works for Google. And just like that, I'm out of there. And because their customer service over at YouTube is a lack thereof, it's almost impossible to get in contact with those guys over there. Who knows if I can get it back? Who knows if they will confirm that it was an error? What I'm saying is the rug can be stripped from under me just like that, bro. So I make the adjustments and I try to come up with other ways to monetize it, other ways to connect, because with my type of content, it's more of the connection. I think I have a following enough that if I was to say, hey, guys, YouTube's done, find other ways to let's go this route. You know what I mean? If you want to donate this much or you want to subscribe to me over here, then, you know, you'll help me out. Right. I feel like that's what my type of content is more of a connection based, because I put out material that a lot of people have or a lot of people like, excuse me. Not a lot of people have. So you got to make the adjustments. I try to make my adjustments long ago. I never depended on YouTube for just one sole point of income. Now that doesn't mean if YouTube went down, yeah, it would hurt me. I get a pretty decent check from YouTube every month. And that stuff goes generally into not only having a comfortable livelihood, but having improvements, you know, on my videos, because I'm always trying to aspire to be better. I have motivations, you know what I mean? I have things that I want to do to make my content better, because I am a one-man show. So that YouTube check helps in that regards. But if it's gone, it's gone. If that money's gone, it is gone, bro. And I have long prepared for that sort of reality, not just in savings, just in having other forms or other ways to monetize. And myself, really, not even just my content. You know, I do a lot of different things. I'm a writer. Get paid to write. I do a lot of ghostwriting. My band. That stuff has nothing to do with my videos for the most part. So I have other ways to do what it is that I want to do from in terms of meeting my goals from a monetary standpoint. But one form can go just like that. Definitely, you know, when you got something that's becoming more volatile like YouTube. So if you're aspiring to be a creator, you should be making adjustments now if you haven't already. It was a mistake already. And I'm not saying just go to another platform and just put all your stake in that. No, you're making the same mistake, because that platform can be out of there too. But let's talk about the government, which seems to be, for not all creators, but a lot of creators that are dramatizing this seem to be letting them off the hook in terms of what they've been able to do with this. That's what gets me. Like, these guys are making it seem like they're just free of the blame. I doubt we're having this conversation if they are out the way. Now, you can argue that YouTube didn't have to do it. They maybe made a mistake. They maybe should have, now they're trying to put off the blame on the creators and such. And in some cases they're covering their own behinds going into the future by making adjustments, such as giving them the ability to sweep their content, but also saying that, hey, you got to label your stuff right. Even though they're going to have bots that may try to, let's say, punish people or call them out for making material that is wrongfully identified. Say that. So the fact that people are letting them off free is, I still don't understand that. This is what you get. And this is what kills me, is that I'm seeing some of the same creators who I saw was on the opposite end of the net neutrality thing, but meaning that they were praising the Spotify's of the world, Facebook's of the world. I believe Google was part of that as well. People that were championing this net neutrality thing, which is a governmental federal law. A lot of lies floating out there about that as far as what it protected. But I have a video out on that. You can go check that out over at youtube.com/YoungRubber59. And in those videos, I have multiple videos actually, and I talk about what it actually entails. And it's not what you guys think that it doesn't do what you guys thought it does. It's not protect you from monopolies or anything like that. And there's a reason why those certain companies are all for that. The myth was that, oh, well, the big corporations, the cable companies want to screw us over. It's all about the big corporations, right? And everybody completely ignored the fact that there were corporations on the other side of the argument. They also completely ignored that there were not just big, massive internet service providers that were for getting rid, or more so repealing the whole net neutrality thing. There were hundreds, literally hundreds of smaller service providers that were like, get rid of it. Again, I document all of this in my net neutrality video. But never mind that, because that's not necessarily important. What is important is that that was a governmental law that other people praised, championed, fear-mongered, said, oh, the internet will never be the same without it. Though we went so long without it, by the way. But it was definitely the same, right? Everybody's championing for, we got to keep the government involved. And now, on the other side, government gets involved. In this case, something that really shouldn't even be a thing, should be on the parents. I get it. We don't want children to be affected in that sense, and that people are being predatory. We don't want that. Nobody wants that, unless you're a scumbag. So I get it. Not a lot of people want that. And I know nobody's saying wants that. Nobody just wants that. Because kids want to protect them. We don't want anything bad to happen to them. So if somebody's being predatory, that's not a good thing. But when we talk about something like, digital is this, like at some point in time, the parents got to step in and be like, look, monitor your kids' content, man. Why is that the government's job? Why is that even YouTube's job? And YouTube had the YouTube Kids. And what happened to that? Like, so it's not like they weren't like trying to separate their content, but when you get governmental laws, you get some stuff like this happens. And it's not always going to be the most effective. And when it comes to something like YouTube, which is so creator based, who are the people that are going to get screwed over the most? The creators. Well, in a sense, $170 million, a lot of money. But the creators, man, the creators are the ones that get screwed over. But this is something that I've been telling people on multiple different subjects is a danger. No matter what the intention was, right? You have a COppa law, you read it, you get the, congressmen and all, and what have you, or whoever that are like, this is the best thing ever. When it came about, 88, if I'm not mistaken. I know the amendment happened in 2013, but that's an old law. You're like, you wanted to protect children. We got to protect the kids. And that's probably all what they were saying as this law was about to be a thing. Protect the kids, and it sounds good, but your intention, no matter how well intended it may be, no matter how good it may sound, it can be abused. And unlike YouTube, government has a territorial monopoly on use of force, violence, and ultimate decision making. And therefore, they can fine you. So people are scared out there. $42,000. I don't have that to spend. What type of crap is that? And everybody's freaking out. But YouTube makes the adjustments. Everybody's like, whoa, YouTube. What about the federal government? What about them? What about their involvement? This is the whole reason it's happening. But this is what guys like myself have been telling you guys is the danger of the state. And by the state, I'm using it as that includes federal government. That's the dangers of the state, man. And I wish people would analyze it. It's not just about your intentions, man. And people need to definitely in this digitized age, man, look into alternatives, look into solutions that do not include the government, even when it comes to things like this. I'm not saying those solutions are going to be perfect, but you can bet your bottom dollar you're going to feel it if the government's involved. And it's often, if anything, noted by their $22 trillion worth of debt, that they don't know what they're doing over there, man. They don't. Granted, yes, I know when we talk about net neutrality, we talk about, COppa, those are two different federal agencies, but federal agencies nonetheless. FCC, FTC, like whatever. Alphabet, federal government, bad. That's how I see it. And that may be a bit of a generalization, but it still is what it is. But this is the danger, man. And this is all I want people to understand, man. It's not necessarily about, and even if you don't see it now or when it happens, it almost always is going to get abused at some point in time. No matter what the good intentions. Sometimes you can see that from the get-go. You know it's going to screw people over. But a lot of things you may have to let it screw people over in the background, and then it's not not immediate when it gets to you, but it does end up working its way back to you as the creator. And that's what happened now. As the creators, a lot of creators are screwed over. A lot of creators like, what in the world is this? Why am I subject to this? Now I have to make these adjustments. I put my whole entire livelihood in YouTube. What do I do? And I see all these creators getting on YouTube, not all of them, but all of these as in multiple creators that are getting on YouTube, and they blame YouTube. Oh, YouTube. What about the federal government? And this ain't even no whataboutism, though that's literally what I just said, what about. I'm saying that they're the top, they're the honcho in this. It's them. Never mind whatever we don't know was included in this settlement. This could only get worse as far as I see it. But if anything, this should be the learning point, right? This should be the point of where you look at it and say, look, maybe having government involved in certain things in my life that could be resolved easily by maybe parents, not necessarily easily, but by parenting or by something that can happen within the marketplace in terms of maybe market regulation and not federal regulation, which those are two different things. Maybe we look at it from that standpoint. And even those regulatory bodies, if they're going to be marketized, we can look at them as competing firms, just like everything else, to ensure some sort of like positive growth in that element. So you're going to have failures, you're going to have successes, and you're going to have people that build upon those successes and do the job better when it comes to that. Look at it from that standpoint, as opposed to just this agency coming to bring the hammer down just because they have a monopoly on, that's a respected legal monopoly on is a territorial monopoly, but a legal monopoly on forced violence and ultimate decision making. And just because reasons is all they have to say, because reasons, right? We'll find you. It really does pain me, if nothing else, to see people put their whole entire livelihood and to have it seeming like it's going to be stripped away like that. And I do believe that's the case for a lot of creators, not most of them, but that's going to be the case for a lot of the creators, more so the ones that do make stuff for kids. Those guys are done. And it's not even just with YouTube. If they're going to continue to create content, they may be needing to get some lawyers, man, depending on how far they take it. But that's all I'm saying, is that those guys I feel for the most. And even if I know that doesn't affect me, I would speak up and say, it's kind of messed up, man. But in the same respects, YouTube does not have to remain on top. Believe it or not, there are other alternatives that are, they're trying. Some of these alternatives are not really alternatives because I don't want to say they're not really alternatives. They're alternatives, but we're at that stage to where people are it's a lot of trial and error that's going to have to happen. It's a lot of trial and error. A lot of people are going to have to give it a shot, and there's going to be a lot of platforms out there that suck. Just because you're a platform doesn't mean you are old, like the support, or old people jumping to your platform. If it doesn't even do the basic stuff that people expect, it's not optimized. But there are people that are trying to create platforms that are video based that people can make money on. And I commend them. I think that's absolutely necessary in this day and age. YouTube doesn't have to stay at the top. I talk about this all the time. Like, think about the different amounts of forms of social media that are come and gone in the last 10, 15 years. Look at the MySpace used to be on top of the world. MySpaces of the world should be on top of the world. You look at all of the social media that's come with the Snapchats, the Instagrams that weren't always a thing, even back then. And they come and go. TikTok now is the new craze, or something like that. And all these different forms of social media, they come and they go. Like, it happens, dude. Some of them stick, some of them don't. Your like platform does not have to remain at the top. It is going to be hard to dethrone Google and YouTube. But just because they're there does not mean that they have to remain there. Does not mean that there can't be a competing firm that does a similar thing, but does it better or good. And they start to see some success. I think that's necessary now more than ever. So I commend those guys who are actually trying to create alternatives. Just work them out. Work out those kinks, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if my content gets on there. I do have other forms of or more platforms that I put my videos and stuff on, but even then, I wouldn't encourage anybody to just put their entire stake in one spot. If anything, figure out ways to monetize I monetize my haters, but monetize your supporters as well. Because those guys want to help you out. They like your content. They're subscribed to you. They follow you. They want to help you out. They want you to continue to make the content that they like, and they love. So let them support you. But putting all your entire livelihood into one thing is a terrible idea. It's an absolute terrible idea. It's a nightmare, dude. Why would you do that? You got comfortable. You got complacent. Start seeing those thousands upon thousands of dollars checks that pop in just because you can do videos, get 1 million some views, hundreds of thousands of views, and that check look real nice. So you're like, hey, I just upload videos all day, every day. Been doing it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And then the rug gets pulled out from under and you left like, whoa, what happened? I hate to see that, man. So if you are a creator, no matter what it is that you do, find other creative ways to monetize your content. And that is not an easy task. I will be the first to admit that is not an easy task. That is something that is going to be difficult for you to do, depending on the type of content. It's going to be easier and a lot harder for others. It's not going to be universal in that sense. But start thinking now, if you haven't already. And if you have, maybe you increase the intensity a little bit to get, I guess, your fan base more knowledgeable on the fact that those exist. Because we are seeing these platforms make changes. It ain't even just with YouTube. Facebook has been going through a lot of changes, man. A lot of changes. And just like that, you can be out of there. So think about that. Not only for the sake of your own content, but think about that when you laughing and giggling because you guys saw somebody else get their channel taken down, or saw somebody else get their Facebook page deleted, or got banned, perma-banned from Twitter or something like that. Think about that. You think that it can't happen to you, but it can. Certainly when government gets involved. So if nothing else, man, you learn nothing else from me. You learn nothing else from this podcast. Diversify your platforms. Diversify your monetization. Get creative. Start thinking out of the box. Most important, connect with your not your creators, but connect with your supporters as a creator. I want to see people be great. I love to see people be great. Definitely, if they make good content, a lot of people work very, very hard on their content. I know as a content creator, I'm a one-man show. I edit, record all of my videos. Me. I have no help, zero help. Nobody helps me with my content. All of my content in terms of me, the standard upload or create, make, edit, upload, that's all done by me. So I understand that there's people that make a lot more complicated videos than I do. They put a lot of work in. I get it. but diversified, man, because at any point in time, that platform can cease to exist. That platform can make a change that will include you having to make some crazy adjustments or not even be on the platform, which will mess up your entire workflow if you're doing it for nothing and if you were depending on it to eat. So I encourage you to, man, just make adjustments. I really do. Make adjustments because you just don't want to be left screwed. That's what's happening to a lot of creators. That's what's going to happen to a lot of creators. But regardless of where we're at with it, as screwy as we may think this is, it's on you to make sure that you figure out other creative ways to monetize your content. That's on you. If you were putting I don't care if it was YouTube, Facebook, or whatever. If you were just placing your entire livelihood on that was a mistake. You, unlike people that have, like, let's say a 9 to 5, have the benefit of a following, right? So that in itself is something that a lot of people don't have. And really what it is their followers viewing their content. Viewing their content is what's making them money. Connect with them. That is your ticket right there. Connect with them. Connect with them. Have ways to get in contact with them, build a relationship, build a community that's loyal. And they just want your content. That way, when screwy things happen, you're not left in the dust. Period.
That's going to do it for today's episode of For Canon's Sake with Eric July. Be sure to keep it locked for the best mix of comics and political commentary you'll ever hear. And I mean ever hear. To get caught up or to contact the show, be sure to visit forcanonsake.com.